The last time I stood on one of Daniel Hale's job sites, I was holding a diaper bag and an eviction notice. This morning, I was holding a clipboard and a state auditor's badge. He didn't recognize me at first. Men like Daniel rarely look twice at the person who signs their paperwork. He was across the frozen lot, laughing with a foreman, hard hat tipped back, wearing the same easy grin that used to feel like sunlight on my face. 7 years. 7 years since he taught me exactly how much a smile could cost. I walked toward the construction trailer that served as his office. My shoes were flat now, sensible, the kind you wear when you spend your days measuring whether other people told the truth. Behind me, the December wind pushed hard across the half-finished building. My name was printed on the audit order in my folder. My signature would decide whether Hale Contracting kept its license through the winter. I already knew what the file said. I knew what he had built. I knew what it was standing on. What he didn't know, what none of them knew yet, was that the woman assigned to review every number of his business had once had her whole life erased by his. I climbed the 2 metal steps. I knocked once, and I waited for him to open the door. My name is Rebecca Cole. I am 51 years old, a licensed compliance auditor for the state, and I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. But before any of that, I was Rebecca Hale, and I was married to the man behind that trailer door for 11 years. Welcome to her silent triumph. Get comfortable. Every woman in these stories was underestimated by someone who should have known better. Hit that like button and tell me where you're watching from. 7 years ago, I signed one piece of paper because the man I loved asked me to. That single signature took my home, my savings, and very nearly my daughter. Today, another signature was waiting. And this time, it was mine to give or to keep. Let me take you back to before I learned the difference between a promise and a signature. Let me show you what I had and how quietly it was taken. Before the collapse, I thought I understood what safety felt like. We had a blue house on Linden Street with a crooked porch step that Daniel always promised to fix. I was a staff accountant at a mid-size firm downtown, good with numbers and better with the people who feared them. Daniel ran a small contracting crew, 3 trucks and one very big personality. People liked him. I liked that people liked him. I thought his warmth was a kind of proof that I had chosen well. Our daughter Emily was 13 that last good year. All elbows and opinions. Obsessed with marching band, cinnamon toast, and telling me I worried too much. Every Sunday, I balanced our books at the kitchen table while she practiced clarinet upstairs. I kept a photo on that table. Emily at 5, gap-toothed, holding a paper crown from her birthday. It sat in a cheap wooden frame Daniel had grabbed at a gas station years before. It wasn't worth anything. It just made me smile between the columns of numbers. I believed we were building something real. Daniel talked about expanding the crew, bidding bigger jobs, buying a lot on the north side of town. He would spread blueprints across the table, and I would run the math and tell him honestly what we could afford. Sometimes the answer was no. He said he loved that I always told him the truth. There was a version of us I still ache for. Friday nights with the radio on, Daniel sketching porches on napkins, Emily doing homework with her feet in my lap. I was not naive about money. I balanced ledgers for a living. I was only naive about him. I believed the one account I never had to audit was the man who slept beside me. We were not rich. We were steady, And steady felt like a kind of wealth after the scarcity I grew up in. I had built a life where the numbers finally added up, and I let myself rest inside it. At work, I audited other companies' books. At home, I trusted my husband with the parts of our ledger I never checked. I want you to remember that word, trusted. It is the hinge that everything else in this story turns on. I thought love meant not double-checking the person beside you. I was about to learn exactly what that cost. It started with a Tuesday and a stack of forms. Daniel came home excited about a new opportunity, a commercial job, the biggest bid of his life. He needed a line of credit to buy materials up front. The bank, he said, wanted a co-signer with clean credit and a steady salary. He looked at me the way he used to look at me on our wedding day. "It's just a formality, Beck," he said. "You know these numbers better than anyone. I'd never put you at risk." So I signed. I signed where the sticky arrows pointed. I did not read every page because I trusted the man holding the pen out to me. That was my mistake, and I have never once pretended it wasn't. What I signed was not a co-signature on a line of credit. It was a $180,000 loan taken out entirely in my name. Daniel had restructured the paperwork with a loan officer he golfed with. My salary, my credit, my signature, his money. For 3 months, everything looked normal. He kissed me goodbye each morning and drove off to a job that I would later learn did not exist. He had already emptied the joint savings in careful increments, small enough that I would not flag them. He knew I checked the accounts on Sundays, so he kept each withdrawal just under the number that would make me look twice. He used my own habits against me. Then the trucks disappeared from the driveway. Then his phone went to voicemail. Then a woman named Sabrina answered at once, confused, and hung up.
Daniel was gone. Not dead. Not missing. Gone. To Arizona. With the loan money. With Sabrina. With a new start he had planned while I ran his numbers at the kitchen table. And the debt stayed exactly where he'd left it. On me. I called the bank, certain it was a mistake. It was not. The loan officer, his golf friend, had already stopped returning calls. I called a lawyer I could not afford, who explained, gently, that proving fraud against my own signature would cost more than the debt itself and might take years I did not have. The system that was built to protect me could not move faster than the man who had already moved. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding the first collection letter, reading my own name printed next to the words, "Amount past due." He hadn't just left me. He had made his freedom out of my future. Here is the part nobody warns you about. Betrayal is loud. What comes after is silent. And the silence is what nearly kills you. The bank did not care that I had been deceived. My signature was my signature. The loan was current law. And the law does not read hearts. Within a year, I had defaulted. Within 18 months, I filed for bankruptcy. The blue house on Linden Street sold at auction to a couple who never knew my name. I packed our lives into borrowed boxes. On the last day, a box slipped from my arms on the porch step Daniel never fixed. The little wooden frame hit the floorboards and cracked at the corner. A thin split running up from Emily's paper crown. I didn't cry over the house. I cried over that crack. Emily was 15 and furious at a world she didn't understand. My credit was gone, which meant no lease would take me. We moved into my father's spare room. And then, when I picked up a second and third job and was never home, the county got involved.
For 11 months, my daughter lived with my parents under a temporary custody arrangement while I proved I could provide a stable home. 11 months. I signed those papers too, voluntarily, because a caseworker told me it was the safest thing for Emily. Do you understand what that does to a mother? I had lost the house, the marriage, the savings, and the credit. Losing the right to tuck in my own child was the floor beneath the floor. I worked days as a bookkeeper for a car dealership and nights cleaning offices downtown. I learned which vending machines gave 2 candy bars for $1. I learned to cry silently in a locked stall so the sound would not carry. I learned that shame is heaviest at 3 in the morning when there is no one left to perform strength for. My mother watched Emily grow up in her house while I visited on weekends like a guest in my own child's life. Emily slowly stopped asking when we would live together again. That silence hurt worse than the question ever had. I kept the cracked frame on the windowsill of my rented room. Some nights it was the only proof that I had ever built anything good at all. Rock bottom, it turns out, has a very useful quality. It is solid. You can finally stand on it. I did not have a plan for revenge. I want to be honest about that, because this is where people expect me to describe some clever scheme. There was no scheme. There was only a Tuesday, and then another Tuesday, and a woman deciding to survive them one at a time. Here's what I did know. I knew numbers. I had spent my whole life reading the true story hidden inside other people's ledgers. So I went back to the one thing no one could take out of my head.
I enrolled in evening classes and finished my CPA credential I had abandoned when Emily was born. I studied at the kitchen table again, a different table, in a smaller room, while other people slept. Then I took the harder road, state licensing as a compliance auditor, the person who inspects a company's books and its permits and decides whether it is allowed to keep operating. If you've been listening for a while, do me one quick favor. Subscribe. It costs you nothing and means everything. It took 4 years. 4 years of borrowed textbooks and cold coffee and paying down a debt that was never mine. I earned back my custody in the first year. The day the caseworker signed off, Emily and I ate grocery store cake off paper towels on the floor of a bare apartment because we did not own a table yet. I earned back my dignity somewhere in the third. The money took much longer. I want you to sit with the strangest part of those years. The audience of my life already knew what was coming, but Daniel did not. Somewhere in Arizona, he was buying a new truck and telling new people a cleaner version of his story. He had no idea that the wife he had written off as a signature was quietly training to become the exact kind of person who reads signatures for a living. That is the thing about the silent years. They look like nothing from the outside. A woman studying at a folding table, a woman failing the licensing exam once, then passing it, a woman memorizing statute numbers on a city bus. No one filmed it, no one applauded. But every dull, invisible night was a brick, and I was laying a foundation beneath a house he would one day need to walk into. Emily saw all of it. She saw me fall asleep over practice exams. She saw me celebrate a $7 raise like a lottery win. Years later, she would tell me that watching me rebuild was the reason she chose accounting herself. I never lectured her about resilience. I just let her watch me refuse to quit.
And here is the part Daniel never once imagined, sitting in Arizona with his new life. Every month, I got better at reading exactly the kind of lie he had used to destroy me. I became the person who catches the man who forges a signature. I became the door such men have to walk through. Not to catch him. I want to be precise about that. I did not build a career as a trap for one man. I built it because it was the one room where my particular scars had turned into skill. Where other auditors saw clean paperwork, I saw the small, confident lies of people who assumed no one important was reading. I had been the person no one thought would read. Never again. Somewhere in the 4th year, I moved the cracked frame off the windowsill and into a drawer. Not because I had forgotten, because I finally didn't need to look at the wound every single day to remember who I was becoming. I closed the drawer gently. Then I went back to work. By year 5, I was a senior auditor with the state's licensing division. My job was simple to explain and impossible to fake your way past. Contractors who wanted to renew their commercial licenses had to pass a combined financial and compliance audit. I was one of the people who ran them. I was good at it, not because I was vengeful, but because I already knew every hiding place. I had lived inside one. The first time I saw the name, it was just a line on a quarterly assignment sheet. Hale Contracting, LLC, Fort Collins expansion. License renewal and financial review pending. He was back in Colorado. He had grown the company. Bigger crews, a real office, a $2.4 million municipal contract he could not afford to lose. And his file had landed through nothing but the rotation of an ordinary work calendar on my desk. I sat with that for a long time.
I will not pretend my hands were steady. 7 years of carefully folded grief unfolded itself in about 4 seconds. My first feeling was not triumph. It was a strange vertigo. The sense of 2 timelines finally touching. The woman with the eviction notice and the woman with the badge, standing in the same body, staring at the same name. Then the feeling passed, and my training took over. Because the training was the whole point. The training is what separates a person who wants revenge from a person who simply does the work correctly and lets the work be the answer. The rules of my job are strict, and I have never bent them. Not once. Not even for him. A conflict of interest must be disclosed. So I did the correct thing first. I told my supervisor, Marcus, that I had a prior personal relationship with the principal of the company. Marcus asked if I could be impartial. I told him the truth. I can follow the file exactly where it goes, I said. No further and no less. He assigned me to lead the audit, with a second reviewer shadowing every step, precisely so no one could ever claim I had tipped the scale. That was fine by me. I did not need to tip anything. Here's what I understood that Daniel never would. The cleanest reckoning is not a knife. It is a mirror held perfectly still. I did not have to invent a single flaw in his company. I only had to refuse to look away from the flaws he had built himself. The way he once counted on everyone looking away from what he did to me. So I opened the first box of records. I sharpened my pencil, an old habit, and I began to read every page he had assumed no one ever would. Because here's what I already suspected, and what the documents would soon confirm. A man who once forged his own wife's name onto a loan does not usually learn to stop cutting corners.
He simply gets more confident that no one is checking. Someone was checking now.
The audit took 3 weeks. I did it the way I do every audit. Line by line, permit by permit, signature by signature. And the numbers began to talk. Daniel's company was a beautiful storefront, built over a sinkhole. The $2.4 million contract had been won on a bid propped up by inflated safety certifications and payroll records that did not match the workers actually on site. 2 structural inspection sign-offs had been dated on a day the certifying engineer was provably out of state. It was not sloppy. It was the same instinct I knew intimately. The belief that a signature is just ink, and that no one important will ever read the fine print. I documented each finding the way I document all of them. Dates, statute references, exhibit numbers, a second reviewer's initials beside mine. No adjectives, no anger on the page. Anger is not admissible, and it was not necessary. The numbers were doing something far more devastating than any speech of mine could. They were telling the simple, unforgiving truth. I never wanted revenge. I wanted my life back. So I stopped waiting, and I went to work. While his file thinned into a list of violations, my own life had quietly filled back up. Emily was 20 now, living with me again, studying for her own accounting exams. She had chosen my path on purpose, and that healed something in me no paycheck ever could. That spring, she had started a student internship with my division. 2 afternoons a week at a small desk down the hall from my office, learning to weed files the way I once taught myself to. My father had passed 2 winters before, but he had lived long enough to see me get her back. I had a small paid-off condo and a name that was mine alone. Then I learned the last piece, the human piece, and it complicated everything. Daniel and Sabrina had a son now, Owen, 6 years old, with a serious heart condition that required surgeries the family's insurance only covered, while Daniel's business and its group policy stayed licensed and operating. If Hale Contracting lost its license, Daniel lost the contract. If he lost the contract, the company folded. And if the company folded, the insurance that was keeping a 6-year-old alive folded with it. The man who once made his freedom out of my future was now standing on a foundation as cracked as that little wooden frame. And this time, an innocent child was standing on it with him. I sat in my car that evening for a long while before driving home. I understood, with uncomfortable clarity, that doing my job correctly and completely would ripple outward to a 6-year-old who had done nothing to me. Justice, I was learning, does not arrive clean. It arrives shaped like a real decision, with real weight, and it asks you to carry every ounce of it. That was the week Daniel finally knocked on my office door, hat in his hands, and asked to speak with the auditor. He still did not know who she was. He came in apologizing to a stranger. That is the detail I keep returning to. What he never noticed, from the moment he sat down, was the young woman at a small desk in the corner of my office. She had a stack of exhibit binders in front of her, and her head bent low over them. A student intern shadowing the division that quarter.
Daniel did not glance at her once. Men like him rarely look twice at the person quietly doing the work in the corner. He had built an entire life on that blind spot. "Ma'am, I know this is unusual," he began, sitting across the conference table. "But I'm hoping we can find some flexibility. There are people depending on this company. My son," his voice caught, "genuinely. My son is sick. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Then he looked up, and the years finally rearranged themselves on his face. He saw me.
The color left him. Rebecca. Oh my God. "I lead here," I said. Nothing more. My voice was level, the same voice I use for every file. For a moment, neither of us moved. 7 years sat down at the table with us. I watched him do the math I had already done. The diaper bag, the collection letters, the badge now clipped to my blazer. I watched him realize that the person he had come to beg was the person he had once decided was disposable. I felt a great many things in that silence. I did not perform any of them. Composure, I have learned, is not the absence of feeling. It is a decision about where your feeling is allowed to go. I want to tell you exactly what I did next, because it matters. I did not raise my voice. I did not make a speech. I did not remind him of the diaper bag, or the eviction notice, or the 11 months without my daughter. I did not smile. I opened the file, and I let the file speak. That was the whole of my strategy, if you can even call it one. For years, people had spoken over me. The bank, the caseworkers, Daniel's tidy version of events. Now I would not raise my voice at all. I would simply lay the documents on the table and let the truth take up the space it had always deserved. "There are 3 matters on the table," I said. "They are separate, and I'll treat them separately. First, the legitimate portions of your operation that are in compliance. Those will pass because they meet the standard, and my job is to apply the standard." He exhaled, grabbing at that. "Second," I continued, "the falsified inspection sign-offs and the payroll discrepancies. Those are not judgment calls. Under statute, they must be referred to the state licensing board and the district attorney. I don't have discretion there. Neither would any auditor." "Beck, please." He leaned forward. "You know me. You know I'm not. You know I would never really hurt anyone." And that was the moment the young woman at the corner desk closed her binder.
She stood. She stepped out from behind the filing cabinets and into the light of the window. And Daniel's face changed by degrees. The way a man's does when a fact he cannot afford arrives anyway. "Emily?" Her name came out of him small. She had been in the room the entire time. She had recognized her father the instant he walked in, had said nothing, and had listened to every word of his performance from 6 feet away. My daughter was 20 years old. She folded her hands on the back of a chair, and her voice did not shake. I did not say a word. This is the part I had promised myself. Whatever happened next, it would not come from my mouth as a weapon. "You put $180,000 in my mom's name," she said quietly. "I was 15. I watched her lose our house because of your signature trick. I lived at Grandpa's for 11 months because you decided your fresh start mattered more than us. So don't sit here and tell her you'd never hurt anyone. You already did. You just never had to watch it happen. I did. Every single day." Daniel turned to me, waiting for me to soften it, to translate our daughter's truth into something easier. He had always relied on me to smooth his edges for other people.
to make him palatable, to do the emotional accounting he never wanted to do himself. I didn't. I let the silence hold the whole weight of it. For the first time in our entire history, I did not carry his discomfort for him. I let it sit exactly where it belonged. On the shelf behind my desk, in my space, in the light of my authority, sat the little wooden frame with the crack up its corner. Emily at 5, in her paper crown. I had brought it out of the drawer months ago and set it where I could see it while I worked. Daniel's eyes found it. I watched him recognize the gas station frame he'd bought a lifetime ago. I watched him understand, finally, in full, whose life he had spent, and who had rebuilt it into the very room that now held his.
I did not touch the frame. I did not point at it. I did not say, "Look what you did," or "Look what I saved." It was never a weapon, and I would not turn our daughter's paper crown into one. It was just the truth, sitting quietly in the corner, the way it always had, the way I had, for years, until the world finally had no choice but to read me correctly. He looked from the frame, to Emily, to me, and something in him folded. Not an act. I had seen all his acts. This was the thing underneath them, arriving years too late. The compliant portions will be approved by end of week, I said, closing the folder. The rest goes to the board. That's the whole of it. People who want a clean ending will not like this part. I don't either. But I promised you the truth. And the truth has a cost that lands on everyone in the room. Sometimes even on the people who did nothing wrong. Daniel's fraud was referred, exactly as the statute required. The falsified contract collapsed. The company he built on borrowed lies did not survive the winter. And Owen, a 6-year-old who never lied to anyone, lost the insurance that came with it. I have replayed that 1,000 times. I did not cause his illness. I did not create the fraud. I did not have the power to bend the law. And I would not have wanted a system where auditors bended. Because that same willingness to look the other way for a charming man is exactly what put my name on that loan in the first place. A world where the rules soften for men like Daniel is the world that ruined me. I would not rebuild it just because this time the bending would have felt like mercy. But I am the one who read the file honestly. That is a weight I carry, and I will not pretend it is light. Anyone who tells you justice feels clean has never once had to sign their name to it.
So I did the only thing that was actually mine to do. Off the record, as a private citizen and not an auditor, I made 2 phone calls to a children's hospital foundation and a state medical assistance program, and I helped Sabrina, a woman I owed nothing to, start an application for Owen's coverage. It was the right thing. It was not for Daniel. It was for a child. Here is the gong that still rings in me. Daniel took $180,000 in my name in one afternoon. It took me 7 years to earn myself back. 1 $12 an hour shift, 1 night class, 1 closed drawer at a time. He spent my future in a single signature. I rebuilt it 1 honest number at a time. The cost I can never get back is not the money. It is the 11 months. It is the winter my father died before he could see me fully whole. Some doors, once a man closes them on you, do not reopen just because you finally hold the key. Daniel understood who I had become. I could see it. But understanding is not the same as being forgiven. And he never actually asked me for that.
He only ever asked me to save him. I still have the frame. The crack is still there. I never fixed it, and I never will. For a long time, I thought that crack was the mark of everything that broke me. Now I understand it differently. It is the exact line where my old life ended and the one I built with my own hands began. A thing can be cracked and still hold the picture perfectly. Daniel taught me that a signature is never just ink. It is a promise about who you are. He signed my name and told the world he was free. I signed my own name for 7 years. On exams, on licenses, on the audit that finally told the truth. And every one of those signatures told the world I was still here.
If you are sitting in your own silent ears tonight, in the room that feels like the floor beneath the floor, I need you to hear this. You are not being erased. You are being sharpened. The very thing that is breaking your heart is teaching you to read the fine print no one will ever fool you with again. He underestimated the woman signing his paperwork. So did the bank. So did the world. They should have read more carefully. If this story meant something to you, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.